Hi friends, Pastor Terry here. We are Dalhousie Church, and this is overtime. Literally, stuff that I don't have time to talk about in the sermon. Didn't really fit, I think, appropriately in the 10-minute coach. And so overtime, I will occasionally pull out, this is the first time I've attempted this, in order to bring additional content to help you in your studies. I'm hoping that it's useful. We've had 3 periods of hockey, or 3 points to a sermon, and we're tied, and now it's overtime. And some of the most exciting hockey that ever gets played happens in overtime. The 10-minute coach is intended to coach our small group leaders especially, but our small groups as you gather. Overtime is a little bit of a and then some bit of content. In particular, I was concerned because we cracked the door on a conversation this week as we were in Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 8, 9, 10, and 11. And we cracked the door on this question about why would God work against his people. So in particular, in chapter 8, we're told in the New International Version here, "You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sins of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments." And we say, well, I like the blessing part, but I'm not so keen about the punishment part. What does that mean, to punish the children for the sins of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generations? Visiting the iniquity of the fathers on to the 3rd and 4th generation. And I mentioned in 10-minute coach that 3-4 generations is generally considered to be the sphere of influence that we would expect a parent to have. My great-great-grandparents, I really don't know very much about them. That was probably true of you. But many in our church family, their parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents were the ones that immigrated to Canada. Their influence was enormous. The decisions that they made then continue to have consequence now. But we look at some of this and we say, okay, but specifically, why would God use this kind of language? And as we continue through the book of Deuteronomy, if you were to read through the book and you get down to chapters 27, 28, 29, there are some very harsh consequences for hating God, for rejecting God. And why would God use that kind of language? And the reality is he does it because he loves us. Now, as I say that, I immediately think of Jim Carrey and his portrayal in Bruce Almighty, where he falls on his knees and he says, "Love me less." And when we hear some of these kind of strong consequences for disbelief, we pause. We say, what is going on? Well, the reality is that God was concerned because he had chosen Abraham and made a covenant with Abraham that he would bless, all the peoples of the world would be blessed through him. You can go back and look that up in the book of Genesis. He's been working that promise through Abraham, through his son Isaac, through his son Jacob. Jacob's name changed to Israel. Through Israel's 12 sons, they were then taken into captivity in Egypt. We've told this story many times over the past year. God had resolved that through the children of Israel, Jacob, that he would bless all of the peoples of the world. He would bring the remedy to the brokenness that happened in the garden. The sin that came into humanity in the garden would be remedied by God's work through the children of Israel, through the people of Israel. Now, that doesn't mean that he was not at work elsewhere in the world. It just means that his redemptive plan would come through the children of Israel, through the line of King David, ultimately leading us to King Jesus. And Jesus is the one who brings the hope. He is the one who brings the restoration. Well, every act of obstinance against God's plan delayed, put more people at risk. More people would die not knowing. Now, God's revelation to us is everywhere all the time. The Apostle Paul, in the book of Romans, would say that No one has any excuse because we can look into Romans chapter 1, we can look into the things in the world around us, the things created, and it should be evident to everyone that there's a God. And anyone who responds to that prompting and says, well, maybe, well, God will respond to them. This is the conundrum, this is the difficulty that is present. We like to think of ourselves as autonomous beings, and we take pride in the ability for us to be those who have free choice, free will. We love that. We love that. One of the consequences of how that intersects with the divine prerogative of God is complex. It's mysterious. We really can't fully understand it or comprehend it, and yet it is a real thing. You've got to choose. You've got to choose. And when you choose poorly, there are consequences. When you reject God, the language that is used here is haters of God. We're talking about the one who has demonstrated his love for us on the cross in such extraordinary ways. You just can't spit in the face of that without there being consequences. And I know that can feel grievous. So let me build toward the grievous piece, okay? God is at work in all the peoples of the world. I've attempted to say that. We saw that back in our journey from Genesis to Revelation. Numbers chapter 11, verse 4 tells us that there was a mixed multitude that came out of Israel. It came out of Egypt, rather, with Israel, a mixed multitude. There was a group there, the NIV calls them rabble. I think that condemns them more than the Hebrews intended to condemn them. Mixed multitude. It was a mixed group of people. They came with mixed motives. And even at this past Sunday, as we looked at the idea that God must be worshipped for who he is, the first generation that came out seemed to worship him for what he did. Like, we'll go along with him as long as. But as soon as they got to the promised land, on the verge of the promised land, and the spies came back, and the 10 spies brought the bad report. The text says that they went into their tents and they grumbled against God, and they said, God hates us. He just brought us out of Egypt to kill us. Well, you can't slander God like that. One of the things that we're going to encounter in the 10 Commandments are that the first 3, maybe 4 commandments are commandments about God's right to be acknowledged as God. After all he's done, in fact, we'll talk about this next Sunday, he brought us out of Egypt. I'm the God who brought you out of Egypt. The language that is present in the text uses the Hittite Caesarean treaty language, where a king, a Caesarean, would agree to certain terms. I will be your king, and you will be my people, and you will do these kinds of things, and I will do this kind of things. God appeals to them on the basis of his goodness to them. The Caesarean treaties typically were about how it was the right of the king to do so. It wasn't based on the good things they'd done for the people. It was based on the things that the people ought to be owing to the king. Now, we've got a bit of that here, but it's because of what God has done. He's been gracious to us. He's shown us his love. He's responded to our needs. He heard the cries of the people of Egypt in slavery, and he responded to that. He sent Moses in order to set my people free. And now here we are, this generation has turned around and they're slandering the name of God. You can't do that. You can do that, but accept the consequences of doing that. And we see that today way too often, right? I need to keep going here because I'm gonna have to do a double overtime if I'm gonna get through all of this. In Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 12, it tells us that the Horites used to live in Seir, but the descendants of Esau drove them out. They destroyed the Horites before them and settled in their place, just as Israel did in the land the Lord God gave them as their possessions. Part of what I take from that is, again, this evidence that God is at work among the nations. It's not just with Israel that he is at work. He has been graciously there. He displaced this unknown people group, the Horites, in order for Esau and Moab to have a home. He displaced the Canaanites in order for Israel to have a home. Well, why did he do that? Because of the sinfulness of the people, their unresponsiveness to God. They became God haters. And when Israel became God haters, he displaced them too. So I want to invite you to look carefully at the, to not give in to the slanderous accusations against God that happen in our society, in our culture. I mentioned some of that last Sunday when atheist philosophers like Dawkins will make these horrific and outlandish statements against God. Who are we to judge? Are you God? Did you save anyone? You can't save anyone. I can't save anyone. There is only one God, and he's represented himself perfectly in the person of Jesus, and we are being called to respond to him. And one of the things that happens for the Old Covenant, the First Covenant people, is that God spells it out graphically for them. He spells it out graphically. There are fearful consequences for disobedience. If you were to go down to Deuteronomy 27 and 28, it describes how the people, after having heard these sermons that Moses had preached, half of the people were set on one mountain, half of them were set on another mountain, and the one on the mountain were to call out the curses that were going to come upon the people if they rebel against God, if they become haters of God, and the other were to spell out the blessings. We like the blessings. The blessings are fantastic. But we want more of those. You will be blessed in the city and blessed in the country. The fruit of your womb will be blessed, and the crops of your land, the young of your livestock, the calves of your herds, and the lambs of your flocks. It goes on and on and on about the blessings that will be theirs for responding in obedience to God, for embracing him, for loving the one who has first loved them. You and I are called to love the one who first loved us. The human condition is such that we tend to be those who weigh the costs. I was watching The Amazing Race this week, a couple of episodes late, recorded on the PVR, and this young couple got to this place where they could skip ahead if they walked across hot coals. I don't think I would do it. They did it. She burned her feet a little bit, not enough to impede their race. Blows my mind. But they were weighing the costs. I have been known to exceed the speed limit when I drive. You probably have never done this. You're good. I've been known to weigh the consequences. How late am I? God knew that this is the human condition, the predisposition, and so he's making it really bold. Man, the curses are horrible. Don't go there. Don't become a God hater. This has been overtime. Thanks. I hope it's been worth it. Some of the best hockey gets played in overtime. I can't say the same for this, but I hope it's been helpful to you. Bless you as you dig into these texts and as you become a God lover. Become one who responds to, as a new covenant people, the new covenant made in the blood of Christ, so that you and I can have a relationship with God. He wants to call you friend. I hope this has been helpful toward that. I'm Pastor Terry Lee. We are Dalhousie Coach, and this has been Overtime. Bless you and bye for now.